So it's just some few hours before 26, and the Prime Minister of Jamaica, during the National Solid Waste Management Authority speech, he came out and taught us, or rather told us, about great delayed gratification and resilience. If you watched that particular video, you could actually see that he was leaning more on long-term value over comfort and the price of success. He talked about discipline over motivation and reframing pain as growth. So, in order for you to understand all these key points, let us listen to these videos first, and then I come back now and do more analysis. So let's jump into the video.
May 2026 be the year where all your dreams and aspirations come to fruition. Now, I know that some of you may have been impacted by the hurricane itself, or you may have family that is impacted. The government has been very strategic in its response, and that strategic response is not one that is without compassion. We believe that being efficient, in being effective, that's the best way to show that you truly care. And how we are responding has been almost textbook, and it will be the case study for many other countries as to how to respond to managing a disaster. We have already started what we call the roof repair program. The JDF is leading that. Some of you may recall that 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, I gave a directive to the JDF that they should transition from relief operations into the rebuilding, the restoration operations. And so they are leading that now. We have engineering corps from 2 countries joining us. We have Guyana, and I have assigned the Guyanese engineers to work in White House and Bluefields. They are now at about 30 houses restored. The Ghanaians, their engineering corps came in a couple of days ago, and they are assigned to middle quarters and some of those areas in St. Elizabeth. And the JDF, as you would hear, is in a compound, and they have started to repair roofs. So the strategy is we're going to look for the most vulnerable, people who can't repair their roofs themselves. They're not working, they're elderly, they're shut in, and we're going to try and do some of those. Early next year, meaning in January, we will then start to issue grants to persons who have been assessed. We have done over 40,000 assessments. We are hoping that by the time we are ready to do distribution, we would be over 50,000 assessments. The objective is to go up to about 90,000 assessments. And so we will be giving grants to, we're trying to cover all the households. Clearly we won't be able to give everyone, but certainly everyone who we have assessed as being in need, come to our attention, and we have the resources, we will give grants. These grants, however, will not be, and they will just be upfront. You know, these are not grants that are going to be able to restore your entire house. For some, depending on the damage, it may. But for others, this is the government saying, here is something for you to start with, to help you with, to assist. All right? And I believe that that infusion of cash will itself have a positive impact on the economy. Because there is something that we talk about, it looks and sounds ephemeral, meaning, you know, like it's inanimate and it's abstract, this business of the economy. But if you have a good economy, people will be able to help themselves. A good economy helps everyone. So putting this money into the hands of people, providing that they use it wisely, will help to generate economic activities. You're going to have more carpenters and masons and all kinds of people being employed who will then go to the shops, and you can see the cycle of economic activity, which will create the income necessary to be able to rebuild. So I want to give hope, therefore, to all the people who are now concerned about what will happen in the new year. We have been putting in place all the necessary systems so that when we give the money, we can track it, meaning that we know who got it and the assessed purpose for which they got the money, which is very important, because the same people who are saying, give the money, are the same people who will turn around and say, you thief the money, Right? So we have to put in place all the systems in place to make sure that no one can credibly accuse the government. But more than that, it is the right thing to do, to have systems of accountability. Which leads me to the NSWMA. The NSWMA in the previous decade was the subject of great public concern in terms of how it was administered. But the NSWMA was not alone. There were several public entities that the way in which they were run created a fiscal risk for the government, meaning that poor administration caused overspending, wastage, which ended up in government having to spend more without getting the service. And that placed the country at risk. Indeed, a large part of the public debt was generated by entities that were not properly run. I wonder if you see the importance of properly managing an entity. All right? Because if the entity isn't properly run and it runs up bills, somebody has to pay that bill. It becomes debt. And again, the debt is quite abstract. People say, well, it's the debt. No, you are the ones who own the debt. It is you who will have to pay for the debt in every dollar of taxes that you pay. So it's in your interest to ensure that the debt is not high. All right? So when we talk about we reduce the debt, people say that don't have nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with you. Right? So it's not an abstract thing. Now, this administration, along with the social partnership, worked very closely to ensure that a board was in place that followed the guidelines for good governance. And I think, first of all, we have to credit the respective boards that have gone for ensuring that the governance of the NSWMA is such that it followed the established guidelines for good governance. I've seen that you have won several such awards and have copped recognition.
So far.
Yes, 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 and you have copped several awards and have been recognized in that manner, and that's good. And I want that to continue. Now, you are still facing great criticism, not necessarily for your management. In fact, the general public doesn't pay attention to these details. That the NSWMA is not an entity that places the government at fiscal risk. You don't get a ticky for that. The public don't mark and give you a big ticky in the book and say, good. No, that's not what you get credit for, but very important. Without that, the other things that are of concern can't be achieved. What the public is most concerned about is the collection of your garbage. So it really matters not that the NSWMA is in a better position, it's properly run, audits are filed on time. These things, you don't get credit for that. But I would want the public to understand that achieving this in an enduring way, meaning having good management over a long period of time, is the basis on which you will see that being reflected in operations, meaning the actual collection of garbage. There is so much and no more that proper administration can do. All right? After a while, it then comes down to what are the resources that are dedicated to municipal waste, public sanitation, and debris management. Now, I will be the first to tell you that when I see the budget that is presented, for what it costs, because that's what you elect politicians to do, right? You are not there looking at, all right, this is the education budget, this is the public sanitation budget. Why? What is the choice? Because oftentimes that's what it comes down to. None of the ministers make any choices, Let me tell you, they come and they want their budget and they fight for their budget. And we have to do their haggling, but you have to spend this and that. No, but we have to make sure that the kids get the path money. So you just try to think about it. So it's path versus garbage collection, national security, health, and these are real issues in terms of. So then the only solution to that problem is to grow the economy. All right? I mean, there are two solutions. One is to manage what you have well, which is what managing the NSWMA properly is about. Managing what you have well so that the resources that you have can be stretched to do more. And then the other one is to grow the resources that you have. So what we have done is to give the NSWMA some more resources. But we have given the NSWMA more resources in strategic ways. So we have given you 100 new garbage trucks and tippers, and we're just giving you some more there. In other words, we're building your capacity to pair with your good management to deliver better service. But let's be clear, the government does not have the wherewithal. I mean, if you have 100 garbage trucks, now what's your total fleet now?
191.
Oh God, you need, I would say, to have a marked impact of regular collection, you need about 900. So you just imagine how much fold increase we would have to give in the budget, right? And the only way to do that is to keep growing the economy, but incrementally, we will keep doing more. There is another way to do this, however, which is to pair the good management that you have developed with greater resources. And that is to turn over the actual delivery of the service to the private sector. Let the private sector fund that and we pay them over time. In other words, divest the collection of garbage. You are already doing it in some instances because 190 trucks couldn't deliver the service that you have. In other words, you contract out a certain number of trucks. How many contract trucks you have out there? 65 contracted trucks. That's not going to be enough. So you see the limit that you have. I mean, let's say you had 300 trucks in total to the entire island. Think about it. It's just not going to be enough. So we have to come next year. We had already planned it out. We have done all the work. It's already thought out. It's just now to implement. So the NSWMA is going to move into a different era of its existence. So instead of being the main service deliverer of garbage, or rather waste collection and management, that your job will be to manage and regulate those who offer this public service, right? And that way the accountability is stronger. Standards will be better and there will be greater efficiency. Because try as we may, it's always more efficient for the private sector to maintain trucks than it is for the government. That's just absolutely proven, right? Because of the nature of ownership and the risk reward. Let's think about it. When you contract out those trucks, the private sector guy wants to make sure that he makes a profit. He's not going to be able to make a profit by constantly increasing his prices because it will be regulated. He has to make a profit by efficiency, and therefore he's not going to let his truck fall into disrepair waiting on a part to come which has to go through a 10-week procurement. He picks up the phone, calls the supplier, sends somebody on a plane, pick it up and bring it back here, and his truck is operational same day. For us, you have to go through 10 layers to get that part. So the truck might sit down for weeks. People calling about their garbage can't be collected. We can't tell them that the truck is there because we're waiting on procurement. You see the benefit of privatizing the operations. But, even that comes with its own challenges. But I believe with a strong organization, you will be better regulators, right? You may have to kind of reconfigure your operations, how those work, but I don't see any major disruption in how the NSWMA, in its administrative operations. But there's one element to it, however, which I think the NSWMA will have to start looking at seriously. And we had announced this, but we haven't been able to implement it. It's one thing to have the garbage trucks running on time, regularly, and collecting garbage. It's another thing to have people just throwing out their garbage with no separation, no proper containerization, and not adhering to schedule. So the public education element of your responsibility is going to become more critical to the process, that we have to start to talk to the public about the importance of household waste management and commercial waste management and personal responsibility for waste management. As I drove across the countryside in the last couple of days in Clarendon and other parishes, and I'm noticing the regular debushing exercise that takes place at Christmas. No doubt they are debushing the side of the road, but what it has done is to expose the travel waste along the road. I mean, travel waste is a euphemism. It's just the shameful discarding of drink bottles and food boxes and all the plastic waste that obviously were thrown by pedestrians walking or passengers through car windows. It is shameful, and there has to be a very strong public education campaign about this, starting with our little children who do it quite, without knowledge that this is wrong, quite innocently. And for our adults who weren't schooled properly, and for those who should know better and don't. So in 2026, we have to pay attention to these kinds of things. And the first place to start is with public education. Of course, we are in discussions to implement a ticketing system for sanitation and improper disposal of waste. There is a ticketing system already in place, but a digital one, which will act similarly to the traffic ticket. So, you can be brought to court for this. The truth is, everybody wants to see Jamaica clean, but nobody wants to do it. And if you take the action to do it, you fight against. But how is it going to be clean If we come to you and we say, please, sir, don't throw your waste here, don't throw the thing through the window, and you still do it. And by the way, I mean, aside from the aesthetics of it just looking so terribly, it just takes away from the beauty of our country naturally. All of these things end up in the gullies, block the gullies and flood areas. It's a consequence for us if it's not done. So the NSWM is going to be a critical entity in trying to bring Jamaicans to a higher level of managing their environment and their built spaces for cleanliness and public sanitation. So that is going to be a critical role for you in 2026. Right? Now, there are other things that we're going to be focusing on, and that is, I'm saying to all of today when we're doing the presentation, that we have this notion of garbage, meaning the end of the consumption process. And the end of consumption is garbage. So meaning it's there, there's nothing to do with it, it stays there. We have to change that mindset. In other words, garbage has no value. And we have to change that mindset to saying, no, it's not garbage as in the end of the consumption process. It is the beginning of another cycle, which is a recycling or conversion, right? So it is a circular economy of consumption. And that's very important because we're going to have to start to institute within corporate entities and public entities the requirement for the separation of waste. That is going to take a little time as well, but it has to be done. And it is going to be the NSWMA that will have to police that framework. So you see, the NSWMA is an important organization. Great things are in store for you, lots of work. But it will be very, very rewarding. I close my presentation to you. In the moment, it's very difficult to see progress. In the moment, it seems as if nothing has changed. But if you were able to look back at the NSWMA 15 years ago, 10 years ago, and you look at the NSWMA now, is it the same organization? It's not the same organization. That's totally changed. But the changes are small, incremental, sometimes imperceptible, until it builds up. All right? The same thing with the JCF. The JCF of today is not the JCF of 10 years ago. The same thing with the JDF. The JDF of today is not the JDF of 10 years ago. We are building institutions. That's how you build a society. You build the institutions. All right? And there are many institutions that we need to build, and we will continue to build them. But the point I wanted to make is that the NSWMA, having gone through this process of transformation, there is still much work to be done. Right? Make no mistake about that. But you have a stronger base on which to take on more work. Now, I'm looking at the faces and saying, more people are saying, more work. I know what the other part of that is. Oh, Lord. But it might not be more work in the sense of additional work. It might be more work in the sense of you're not going to be doing some things, you're going to be doing new things that you didn't do before. And that's really transformation. Yes. So you get to do new things. So I'm very confident that the NSWMA will continue to grow from strength to strength, that the organization will continue to be a premier public sector body that utilizes the public resources in the most efficient and effective way. We do acknowledge that we are nowhere near where we should be in garbage collection and public sanitation, but we do have a plan to increase the resources and the capabilities to deliver the services to the people of Jamaica. Again, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Don't scroll past that video here. Watch to the end. So me hear people them come under that beat Mr. Andrew Holness. Beat him bad, but him have to take away the people them land. No, the man flip it. Because this man is a smart man.
We are no longer just going to wait on you to come and register the land that you have been occupying for 12 years or more. We're not going to wait on you to come and say, I have the family land, I want to register it. We are making titling systematic. We are going to come to your community with the surveyors, with the lawyers, with the JPs and other prominent people in the community who can help us to resolve and adjudicate issues. And we are going to give you your title.
And I am going to tell you why I say he's a smart man. Why are you going to have all these lands or take them away from the people and they are not getting an income off the land? Or the government now make no money off of the land? Why not prepare the titles and give to these people and then make them start pay taxes, land tax for the land them where it can fulfill certain revenue in the government? Makes sense, don't? So, when me actually I go say now, Dr. Andrew Holness and his team are smart and on track with whatever they are doing, because that would be a wise decision to make to fulfill the persons who are, well, to aid the people who are without their title for their lands, and also to gain on a yearly basis additional income to the government or additional funding to the government under land tax. And bear in mind, land taxes are what aid or helps to rebuild roads and repair drainage. Sorry, to rebuild roads and repair roads and also to build drainage. So, this man is a smart man. I'm in a business owner, I say. I'm in a business if you want to beat him or not. He's a very smart man. Anyway, remember to click the follow button. Remember, like, share the video here. And most of all, leave in a comment and tell me what you think about the video.
Jamaica, people in the comment section I say Dr. Andrew Holness not deserve to be the man of the year. You get me? And them I say a Vibes Cartel should be man of the year. Me guarantee you no say. I'm a Gaza nation. I know people from Gaza nation I say that. I People's National Party supporter them. Yeah. Something there. Mark Golding them they want to become the man of the year. Them bets. You mean by Dr. Andrew Holness not deserve to be the man of the year? And I talk about say a biasness. And because he's my prime minister. Come on, people, man. Come on. You don't know what the man got through. Then drag him man name to he rub. Drag him man name to he dirt. And the man still strong, stand firm and strong. Then tarnish him man reputation. They say man will go prison and the man still rise above the occasion. Melissa come and Melissa mash up the country and they say, yes, you know. You go see what you are going to do. And the man still holding forth. And the man still. The man go through a lot for this year. And the man still stand firm and strong. The man still show up. The man still find the time to visit. When Mark Golding can take cover during Hurricane Melissa, and man that Dr. Andrew Holness step on the floor, step on the ground, in a community to search, risking life. Then try to send him a prison during the election. And the man still rise above the occasion. Bad mind People's National Party supporter in a comment section, but he deserve to be man of the year. People talk about Vibes Cartel. Vibes Cartel what? How Vibes Cartel to be man of the year? What Vibes Cartel do? But say, and then hear what they want to say now. Whosoever select, whosoever nominate him for run to be the man of the year, biased because I'm a prime minister. This has nothing to do with prime ministership. Before the man was a prime minister, the man was a regular man. The man deserves to be the man of the year. A bad mind PMP supporter fight against that. Dr. Andrew Holness. Congratulations, man. Congratulations. Trust me, I've been through a lot. You deserve it. And now watch when nobody wants to say, whosoever no he against the decision, don't listen to them. No pay them no mind. No fault find them as all time people that say. Bad mind People's National Party supporter. And Mark Gordon on the and Mark Gordon on the one. Mark Gordon. Because Mark Gordon not get man of the year no vex. I hold up. No Vice Cartel. Me know no people from Gaza Nation say that. I People's National Party supporter them. But the man not deserve for no outer than bright.
Welcome back, and thank you so much for listening to this beautiful and amazing speech. Jamaica has been through a lot, and the only thing that they just want to hear are statements or speeches of hope. And as you all know, we all live by hope. So when you talked about long-term value over comfort, you know, I mean, at the moment, if you see, is trying to actually make people understand that you should not be crying and complaining about why we are not getting this, why we are seeing the secular artists coming in and supporting us. And for him, it feels like those are short-term support, and for him is actually the goal is long-term. So he's telling us and Jamaicans that we should value the goal that we have as Jamaicans and not the comfort that we are experiencing or want to experiencing. We should value the goal more than the current struggle, and that success is earned through extra hard work and of course out of comfort zone. And when he said, don't stop when you are tired, stop when you are done, he was talking about discipline. There was nothing else that he was talking about, by the way. So he is going to donate, or rather give the people of Jamaica 100 more new truck for the garbage. So currently the government was contracting around 65 of them, and of course that is not enough for the good people of Jamaica. So he added 100 more trucks that is going to ensure that the cleanliness in Jamaica is top notch. I mean, the debris gets to be cleared. You all know how Jamaica is messed up now because of Hurricane Melissa. And so many Jamaicans have come out to praise him. And in fact, he's being actually, people are starting to say fourth term for him, and was just re-elected for his third term like some few months ago. So Jamaicans, some are saying that he has the knowledge, he has the education, the will, and the plan. Hence, he is actually fit to rule Jamaica for so long, or rather, they believe he will be staying in office for longer than expected. So, of course, in any government, we have the pro and also we have the opposition. And some of these people believe that, as much as is coming out to support the environment of Jamaica, he believes, or they believe, that this particular kind of business that is going to come up, it's not just about donating these tracks, it's also about a politician coming up or using a proxy to start a garbage collection company, which in this case I will say it's not a new thing, because mostly if you see developing countries, whenever a project comes up, you will see that particular politician or the president himself coming in and doing the supply. I mean, they actually help the people but also benefit from it. That's how society eats its own society. So Andrew Holness also issued title deeds And what he's doing is actually not using the traditional way of acquiring a land title deed to show that you own that particular land. So in most in most third world countries, people get to live in an ancestral land, and they live for so long, like over even 20 years, and they do not have a title deed. Or actually, they live in a huge parcel of land for over 20 years, but then it's a single land with with so many families within it. So the prime minister has opted that he will be visiting these particular families and going with the surveyors also, and handing over these title deeds so that Jamaicans can have their own lands. I mean, they will be living there, being comfortable and knowing that they are the owners. But as much as not really bad, as much as it's a very, very good idea, what is happening now, the opposition is coming out, or probably it will come out and be like, what the government is doing is that it's going to take away your lands. You all know how politics works, and of course, most people believe that the prime minister is working for both the pro-government and the opposition, unlike the opposition party that have been one-sided always. So his new year plan is focusing on resilience, economic growth, national development, and is actually emphasizing more on Hurricane Melissa recovery, investments in agriculture, and also putting more effort as a government on strengthening Jamaica's economy and governance. So, what the Prime Minister is actually planning to do is to transition to a long term hurricane recovery plan, whereby he will be moving from an immediate disaster relief to more of rebuilding. Immediate relief meant that you go there, offer them some goods that is going to help them for some time, and it's not going to rebuild them in any way. So for him, we will be focusing on rebuilding in the year 2026, and that is awesome. And what he will be doing here is repairing roofs, restoring homes and communities, and also everything that belongs to Jamaicans. Another plan that he has for the year 2026 is a roof repair program, which will be led by the Jamaica Defense Force, the JDF. Actually, at the moment, they have been given the authority to spearhead the roof repair program, and they've been doing an amazing job. Except that the leadership of Akompong, they were trying to deny them access and refusing the help from them. But at the same time, those that live in Akompong, they were like, we really need the help. Why the hell would the leader say that we need a civilian led program rather than a JDF led program? So what has happened is that the island of Jamaica has gotten engineering support teams from Guyana, and that is awesome because it shows the unity of the CARICOM, and it's amazing. Another thing that we will be focusing on is on waste management reforms, and some of them we've already talked about it in our video earlier, whereby is going to donate 100 trucks, new trucks, not second hand, and also is going to improve the NSWMA's governance and ensure that it serves the people of Jamaica fairly and squarely. So it's awesome. It's awesome for the government to add the new garbage trucks and also the tippers. So tippers will be used to transport these particular I will say the debris from one point to another, because so many things were damaged, and up to now they're still lying on the roadsides. So private sector is not going to be left out. It's also going to be involved in the government, and I'm glad that the private sector is also going to work hand in hand with the government. It shows unity, it shows the resilience, it shows, that there is peace, there is great things that is happening in Jamaica. And also the education on proper waste management and disposal will be started, so that at least people get to learn how to manage waste, and also how to enhance and get to know how to store items. It's very important. It looks less important until an hurricane comes in. And on economic and the community impact is going to give grants to them, and this is going to help the people of Jamaica to rebuild, to improve their living standards, and also stimulate local economy. And this will create jobs. There will be carpenters, masons, tradespeople, and it's going to improve. The good thing about grants is that you don't pay back. The government just supports you. And on accountability and transparency, the Prime Minister said that the government will be putting in systems to track grant distributions, which is great, because there is no need of being offered a grant and then they don't really care about the follow up and everything. It means that anybody can just go get it, and they go just use it anyhowly, and at the end of the day it will just go to waste instead of helping a family. When you help one person, you've helped like three or five more that are depending on them. you know so that is really great news, I will say. Yeah, and as you can see, it's all about relief to restoration and resilience, infrastructure recovery, waste management reforms, and partnership with private sectors, economic stimulation, and accountability and citizen responsibility. Thank you so much if you watched the clip up to this point. I appreciate your presence. I'll see you in the next video.